and use curved lines with straight lines to get these geometric objects. Okay, so let's grab the pen tool, and so for these first curves, we can probably do it with just 2 points. Curve here and a curve there. And if you hold down the control key on the PC or command key on the Mac, you can bring out the direct selection tool and adjust the direction lines. With the Alt key or Option key down, just click on the point there to make a corner point, and then for the rest of the screwdriver you can pretty much do just straight lines, because that's what it is. Just work on those straight lines and then click back to the beginning, and we do have a slight rise there, so if I just click command click or control click, because when we started we still had a handle there, so just drag it as close to the point as you can. Fix this one, just make sure it's in the right place, and there we go. Okay, so we can call this screwdriver. Okay, so let's click out of the path. Generally speaking, it's a good idea to have your paths on separate paths, basically. Okay, and do the same thing again. Click and drag down the control key to bring out the direct selection tool. Oops. And we want to click, option click to make that into a corner point, and make that a corner point there. Now to go around this point, we'll probably use 2 anchor points because it's a symmetrical linear curve. So it's just, oops, missed. So click and drag on that anchor point to bring out the direction line, and then click and drag on this point to bring out the other direction line. Just make sure it's on the edge there. And oops. So I'm holding down the control key, which is the command key on the Mac. And we want to make this now into a corner point because we're going to switch from a curved path to a straight path. Anytime you need to switch from a curved path to a straight path, you need to hold down the Alt key or Option key and click on it to make it into a corner point. And then you can just click into those straight edges. Now to turn this into having one direction line, click and drag to give it some direction. And same with this one, click and drag, hold down the control key to just give you some more control over that. Then you want to option click this one to turn that into a corner point, and you can option click this one to turn that into a corner point, as well as finish off your wrench or spanner if you're from the UK. Okay, so that's our first couple of geometric objects. Let's try these guys. So the shovel and the pickaxe or something. Okay, and so you can start anywhere, of course. Let's just start down here. Okay, so these are just straight lines. So let's use some straight points there. Now what we're going to do for this is we're going to click, first of all, for a straight line, and then I'm going to click and drag to drag out the curve that we need for this point. Now notice that it changes there. So we're going to make our curve there. and we'll use the control key to bring up the direct selection tool and get that curve to match. Now, because the curve is not continuous, we need to option click there in order to separate those two direction lines. Now, when I click again, I can pull the direction line out, and you can see that they're no longer linked together. Okay, and then I can get another direction line there, and that gives us the sort of pointy bit at the end of the shovel. Okay, and we can alt click to make that into a corner point, and then just click our way through most of this. And there's a little curve there. We can probably zoom in on it. Zoom in on this because it's a subtle curve. Okay, so I'm going to click and drag up a little bit there. Now you see there's a small curve there, and there's a big curve there. So we're going to use 1 point, 2 points to get a small curve. And I'm going to leave that direction line on so that it smoothly goes into this curve. And then just click and drag on this one so that we've got a big curve. See that? Big curve. And then here there's a small curve. Now there's an abrupt change, so you want the option, sorry, or the Alt key, sorry. Well, Alt key on the PC, Option key on Mac. And then that abruptly changes to straight lines. And then we need again a big direction line for that big curve. And again, this kind of changes into a little curve here. So just there is where I'm going to use that. So we've got the big curve there. You can hold the command key in order to reduce the power of that direction line so that when we click here, it's not too pronounced a curve. So that should be okay. And at this point, it's going to change into a straight line. So we want to Alt click or Option click, and that will give us our straight lines. Hold down the space bar to move the screen around. Okay, now we need a big curve here, single big curve. And so we're going to click and drag, and then click and drag. So that gives us that nice big shallow curve. And then it changes at this point, so we need to make that into a corner point. So Alt click or Option click for the Mac. And then here we need another direction line to make this big curve. Oops. There we go. And again, we Option click or Alt click to get that corner point. Get another next corner point. And spacebar drag. Corner point. Oh, sorry, just straight line. Okay, so that is the spade. We just need to do this internal one. We're going to keep this in the, whoops, I put it on the wrench spanner. Oh well, never mind. We're going to keep this in this path. And I'll show you how to select it in a minute. Okay, we've got those two there. That should be even. And click. Oops. Let's just make sure that that's connecting. Click and drag. And that needs to be a corner point, so I'm going to Alt click that, and also Alt click at the starter so it becomes a corner point. Okay, so that's yeah, I would have ideally put that onto a different path, but I'm in a bit of a hurry to get this done. Is the reason. Okay, now how do we select this? Because we've got the we've got two pathways that we've got to deal with here. So the way that you would select it is to, first of all, select the outer path, go to the path options and make selection, and it'd be anti-aliased and new selection. So say OK. And then we need to select the then we need to select this part of the path and then make selection and subtract from selection. And OK. So that gets taken out. So the whole selection, if we now edit, copy. OK, we're on the wrong layer. OK, so I'm going to the layer where all of these pixels are, which is layer 1, and edit and copy. And let's zoom out and deselect. Command D or Control D. Now if I edit and paste, we've got our thing, and you can see from this that it's transparent, and that's because when we selected that path, we opted for remove from selection. Okay, so let's try one of our other shapes. It's a bit more challenging. It's quite a challenging one. Okay. Right, let's make sure that that's not selected. I would have preferred to have kept the those things in different containers, but there you go. Okay, so let's get the pen tool. And we may as well start with these big curves. Okay, big curve goes. This is a kind of 1,000mm curve or something like that. So let's just click and drag to that point there, and we'll need to put a bit more power on this one. So I'm going to hold down the Control key and adjust those direction lines. Now this is a smaller curve, so we're going to pull that curve in a little bit there, put that direction line in a bit there, and the curve goes from approximately there to there before it starts to straighten out. So that is where you want to put the 2 points, and still that is a little bit too strong, so we want to do that. We don't want to separate them because it's a gentle curve blending into a big curve. Okay, so this is pretty straight, so I'm going to leave that curve in there though, so it's kind of. We'll also put a very slight curve in this one because, being as it's an organic object, it does have some kind of curvature in it, and this is almost straight before it goes into this curve. So I'll go there like that. So it's again joined by very small curves, and then go into this a bit more closely. Again, this isn't a kind of corner point, it's more a very, very tiny curve. So let's go and do that. So we've got that first part of the curve. The fact that this is a bitmap makes it a bit tricky. And I'm going to make this into, I better make it into a curve really. Yeah, there we go. It'll be so small that it will actually look like the sort of pinched sort of shape. And now we want a point to here because this is where things change again. So just click and drag there. And then this is fairly straight. We're missing a shape there because we're close in. And it's got this kind of bumpiness, isn't it? Okay, we have to make sure we don't get so close that we miss out on this kind of bumpy thing. Ideally, I would have made a higher resolution image, but there you go. Okay, Right, I'm going to corner point that because I think it's the only way I can get this sort of bumpiness. It's kind of irregular. Okay, from there it goes into a curve again. So let's do that. And that's got a big curve till here. And then it goes into a small curve. There's an S curve there. Okay. So it goes a bit thinner to there. Now that's going to be too strong, so we're going to have to be careful about that. And then that's going to go out. Okay. Yeah, with this bitmap it's kind of difficult to tell. Okay, so it's a kind of thin end and there's a blob sort of shape to it. Okay, that's actually a big curve there. Okay, it's a bit too out. Now they're almost straight. Next curve is much smaller. Might be better to draw it from a distance so I can see the general shape a bit more clearly. Okay, so this is actually an S curve here, and we might be able to do it with just 2 points and enough strength in the directions. Okay, and then that flattens out up to here, doesn't it? And that's really a flat end. It's kind of a blunt curve, isn't it? Okay. Yeah, I really should have set this up with a higher resolution image. Oh well. Okay, I'm going to put a curve in the middle there to flatten out the curves, and then, but to maintain the kind of symmetry. And that should help us. Oops. Okay, and this is probably need a big curve there. See, we did that S curve like that, didn't we? Oops. Okay, I'm going to have to pull that out again. So it lost connection with that. If you find that you're making points and they're not connected, it is through disconnecting with the previous point. Yeah, it's a pixel in. Yeah, I can't move it. It's just on a pixel there. Okay, not sure we can get the same S shape. We should be able to do something similar. There we go. Okay, we'll have to take that in a little bit there, I think. Yeah. Okay, so that's got the symmetry back. It's not quite the same as our bitmap, but then the bitmap's rasterized in a way that's not very useful to us. Okay, and I'm going to click there. Whoops. Okay, we lost contact there, so just click inside, and I'm going to click there. There's a few more points to play with. there, there, and this has got this kind of thin, it's a blob, so I'm going to put plenty of curves there, and then it goes back to being a thin blob, and we've got this curve again. Okay, so we'd go around and sort of adjust these a little bit later on, I think, but for now this will be fine. Okay, so just reconnect that curve to get this curve, and then we're coming up to that big curve again, which there's a curve there and there's this curve here, so we'll put a point there to get this big curve, and that might get us both of those curves actually. No, I'll take it back down in power. Okay, I'm going to reconnect that curve just to make sure it's connecting. And we've got these sort of funny uneven bits again. We can't really truly recognize what the shape is actually because it's not enough resolution. Oh, and there's this big curve, and it turned out to be a small curve inside, didn't it? We might have to take power out of those. At this resolution, it does sort of make it difficult to get the curve that you want. We should have worked at 300 dpi to give us more space, really. But there you go. Okay, so really you're sort of going from small curve to big curve, and that's really why you choose to put in another curve. So for example, this big curve here, we can do with just 2 points because it's just one linear curve. So to choose when to use another point, essentially what you're doing is defining the beginnings and endings of curves. So this is a different size curve to this, and we had something going off there which I'm not too sure about. This will need to, I'll need to option click on it to get that very, it's more or less a straight line. I mean, in nature it'd probably be a very small radius, but let's just give it a very tiny direction line there, and we'll go up into the side of the antenna. Option click to get a corner, and then we'll pull the direction line out. And again, it's got a thin antenna with a round on top. So I'm just using the command keys you can probably see on the screen to get the direct selection tool, which allows me to grab a hold of that. Now that, basically we've got a ball at the end of the antenna. So I'm going to ignore some of the bitmaps and just put a ball at the end of the antenna. There you go. Okay, option clicking to give us a corner point, and just going to make it a simple dome there because I don't know what the detail is in actual fact. Okay, so there we go. Again, that's going to be a corner point, and pull it, oops, let's get that, be an extra point there. Okay, let's try again. Option or Alt, drag. That gets me the direction line I need for this antenna. And Command to drag it in there a little bit more closely. I'm going to Option or Alt click to get that rounded antenna end. And then Option click again. Click a little bit inside. Down here and drag. So use a Command or Control key to drag those together. Let's put them on similar footing so they're symmetrical. Oops. Okay, Option click together as that corner point, and I'm going to click and drag down here. I'm not going to click on this one because I want to be able to control the way it joins together. Okay. And I'm going to Option click at the end there. Oh, that's interesting. Didn't give me a corner. Okay, let's corner that one, and then we just click. Okay, so that's joined it. Okay, I'm going to just click and drag that over, or maybe this one. Okay, not perfect. We'd have to go around and fix a few things here and there, but you've got the general idea of how to join big curves with smaller curves and make a nice bit of one. Okay. Okay, so let's zoom out again, deselect our path, and go on to the cat. Alright, so this guy's all curved, isn't he? Start with the tail. Okay, so I'm going to, should have got a bit more. Okay, if it disconnects, just make sure to redraw the direction line. Okay, so that's our small curve, and then we've got a big curve here, and I'll go to the midpoint there with this. Any further and it would require too strong a direction line. But that you can okay, just make sure that we've got that going that way, and we can have to say there, and that will get as nicely blended curve. It might be a bit powerful for this one though. Yeah, it is. So we'll need to hold the Control key down, or Command key on the Mac, and do that, because we couldn't make a larger curve there, because this one has to go into this smaller curve here. So just goes like that. And that goes into a big curve again. I'll take it to the middle of that big curve because it's easier to control that way. So now we've got fairly good shape there. And then that goes all the way over here, but I'm going to take it again to the middle of the curve. And this should take us into that smaller curve. And that'll be too powerful for the small curve, so I'm going to drag that point in, so that when we do this curve, it's a smaller change. And again, actually, let's do that again. It's a very subtle kind of move, change there. And then we've got this big muscle there. And then there's quite an abrupt change when it gets to the head, so I'm going to corner point that. And I could probably do the whole head. That curve goes up like that. There we go. And we don't want that such a strong, whoops. We don't want such a strong one there, so I'll just go back and, because it's just a very small curve into that ear. And that's probably too strong too. I'm going to redraw that direction point and do that. And redraw that direction point, so it's very tiny. Connect it to that one. And that. And they're pretty much symmetrical. And that comes almost straight down. And then we're going to need to draw a direction point out of there to get the skull right. This is a very soft curve, a very sort of small curve there. So we can do that. It's very almost flat. So we'll need to pull those direction lines in more to get that sort of flat, snouty look. That's a kind of flat curve there. Okay. And essentially I'm breaking the curves up into, well, really into quarters, I suppose. Because it seems, I think it's much more controllable. And then we've got this kind of sudden change there, so that's a corner point. And this is actually a very big curve that away. So we might just need to get a big curve there. And there we go. Again, this bitmap is too small really. Lesson learned. Okay, and then again we want a corner point. Oops. So what I'm going to do is grab that direction line and just put it there. Okay, so these very small changes here. It's a good idea to have a curve for each of them. Although again, this bitmap isn't the easiest thing to work with. Okay, so option click, alt click, and you can grab the direction line and move it, and then command click or control click to move the points. And again, we want a little bit of a flat area, then a curve at the toe, curve to the bottom of the toe, and then in, shallow curve out, and that continues really around to here, where we've got a very small curve. So let's just drag that direction point in, and change the direction. And we want sort of, anytime there's changes in the curve, you want to have a point there, an anchor point there to give you the control. Okay, that second line is probably too strong for that one. That next one, so I'm going to in there, and there we go. So a cat. Oops. Cat. Okay, and that's how you get around those shapes. Essentially, you look where there's changes in the curvature, and typically for any curve, you'll have 2 points. Sometimes you'll need 3 in order sort of to control things as it moves around the shape that you're working on. So, if you've liked what you've seen, leave a like, and if you're new to the channel, please subscribe. Okay, bye for now.